I'm very conscious when I share my story about the numerous encouraging and lovely comments that end up after I've posted them, from people saying sorry that I've been through stuff and that I'm very brave to share what I do. And I wanted to say that I don't share my story or my journey out of a need for sympathy. I continue to do it because I want to support others, because I continue to hear through Blue Soul Shoes of numerous people that watch these videos and say to me privately, we're there too. I continue to hear your stories about deep, dark depression and bone-crushing anxiety. And I want you to know, if you're suffering that on a small level or on a large level, you're not on your own. I've been there, other people are going through it, and you can beat it. You can get through it. What I wanted to talk about on this video is something that I thought would never happen to me. And that's going into psychiatric care, which happened last year. And of all the things that I think that will never happen to me, that was pretty top. That's the stuff that happens to other people, isn't it? That's the stuff that happens to nutters or lunatics. They're the ones that end up in psychiatric care. And those horrible comments about those sort of people have really woken me up since I've been in there, because anybody can end up in that situation. Anybody can be poorly enough that they need that sort of care. And that's where I was. As I've shared before, my journey having really bad depression and really bad anxiety got to a point where, after 4 sets of medication, I was psychotic. I was really ill and I couldn't get a referral in the NHS. And my wife and I were desperate. We didn't know what to do. This situation I was in was destroying my life. It was destroying my wife's life, my family's life, my children's life, my business's life. It was just awful. And so we made the decision that we needed to do something, because we'd run out of options. And fortunately, we could borrow some money from family to have a private psychiatric consultancy on Zoom. And we'd been recommended someone to speak to, and they were incredibly helpful. And it just gave a massive sense of relief. They were so reassuring that, yes, we can help you. Yes, we can do this. And they suggested certain medications, which I went on, but they also said, we think you would really benefit from residential care. We think you need to come in and be looked after round the clock. And that was fearful to hear that. Oh my God, what are you talking about, me going into psychiatric care? But it was balanced with relief. It was, oh my God, someone's going to look after me. Someone at last can just take care of me and sort this out. And again, I've shared before, when you go through really bad mental illness, you just want someone to take it away. You just want someone to come in, lift the top of your head off, take the pain away, put the top of your head back on, and you'll be fine. I've learned since that sort of approach of wanting someone else to take it away actually isn't that helpful. But at the time when I was feeling so ill and my wife was so desperate, psychiatric care was the answer. And once I got over feeling, would it be like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, the famous film with Jack Nicholson in, once I got over that it wasn't like that actually the care I was going into, that we had to pay for a substantial amount of money, was actually more like a hotel. And I remember Sharon driving me there on a Tuesday morning after bank holiday. And actually before that, a few days before that, feeling quite calm that I was going to get this sorted. But as we got nearer and nearer to the psychiatric hospital, which is in Birmingham in the West Midlands, the panic started to come back, the anxiety started to come back, and the depression was there. And I always remember being in the bedroom that they gave me, and Sharon sat there with me, and it was time for her to go. It was time for her to leave and go home and leave me to be cared for. And again, what I've shared before is one of the challenges that happened to me when I was really ill was that I became very childlike. I became very desperate for someone to look after me and take care of me. And thankfully, now I've got a very, very good psychotherapist that's helping me to deal with that. But at the point she left, she had to go, Sharon, I was left on my own in a bedroom waiting to see a doctor. And I was just desperate. I didn't know what to do. I just wanted someone to come and look after me. I just wanted someone to come in and say, you know what, Ashley, we're going to take that all away. And the doctor came in and she took my heart rate and she left after doing all the tests. And I picked up the phone straight away to ring Sharon on the way home. Completely selfish, not accepting that she was probably in a state leaving her husband somewhere like this, but I kept ringing her and saying what to do, and she said, you need to speak to the nurses, that's what they're there for, and I still kept ringing her and saying, when am I coming home? And one of the nurses quite nicely took me to one side and said, Ashley, I know you're really desperate, and I know you feel so rough, but you're here for a reason, and you're paying to come here for a reason, and you need to trust us. And that's what I had to do. I had to learn to cry in front of strangers, and they were very reassuring. But being politely told off, that's where I was and that's where I needed to stay was probably the best thing that I needed to hear. So I was prescribed lots and lots of medication. The way they treat you is they give you tons of medication at this level and it knocks you out. I was given enough medication to sedate an elephant, and then they move the medication down until you get on a calming level. Because it was a private hospital, you're not just left in your room. You're given lots of workshops during the day about meditation, exercise. We did some yoga. The first session I did when I was still feeling really ill was art therapy. Now I'm quite into modern stuff. I get all the ideas of art therapy. When you're really depressed and feeling really anxious, you just head straight for the biggest paintbrush and the black colour, and you just paint a big black cloud. And when it came to me, Ashley, what are your feelings? I just held up this picture and said, this is me. I'm under a black cloud. I must have come across as a right knobhead in there because I just wasn't having any of it. And yet I look back, I was there for 10 days, and you start to settle in and you start to feel a little bit better. And you end up almost with some comical situations. There's only about 4 people on this unit when I was there, and you become quite pally and you become quite friends. And there was a very, well, I look back now and smile, a humorous situation where there was a woman my age and we'd become buddies and we were friendly and we were there in a session, and somebody new came in. Another woman came in and she was quite poorly and quite desperate, and I suppose because of where she was, she ended up taking over all the conversations and wanted to tell everybody all of her problems and her family problems. And oh God, she took over the conversation. Oh God, she took over everything. And I remember leaning over to the woman that I was friendly with, and I said, oh God, she's a right pain in the arse, isn't she? She's an absolute nutter. And this friend leant over to me very quietly and said, Ash, we're all nutters. That's what we're here for. And it really woke me up to that. The lunatics really were taking over the asylum, weren't they, at that point? But I had 10 excellent days of therapy, of care, of medication, of great food. I watched the King's coronation. You get checked every hour of the night with a light in your face to check your exposure on suicide watch. And although I wasn't at that point, there was still some relief. There was still some relief that I was being checked on like a child every hour to make sure I was okay. And in hindsight, in the long run, that didn't help me. That didn't help me because it reinforced that I needed to be looked after. And it's the message I really want to share from that experience, that once again, there is not a silver bullet to sorting out mental health, to sorting out depression and sorting out anxiety. And it's learning that part of your recovery is you have to learn to problem solve. I've talked before, haven't I, about as humans, we act either as the parent, the adult, or the child. And what's healthier for us is to be in the adult as much as possible. Because as an adult, we problem solve. And the challenges when our mental health dives is we can easily become the child, which I became, or then we become a critical parent, and we bounce between the two. So I was very desperate for someone to come and take the pain away, and then a critical parent myself. I'd say, you're ridiculous, you're pathetic, you've got nothing to worry about, you need to deal with this yourself. And what I've learned over time is that if you can, you need to get into that adult space. And that's what I've learned very much through therapy. And so I share that story of psychiatric care with you. I sincerely hope you, whoever's watching, doesn't have to go through that. If you do, it's not something to be scared about, because it can help you. But it's like everything else that's available, whether it's medication, whether it's therapy, whatever you're doing to get better, there is no silver bullet. There is not one thing that will sort you out. It's a collection of things. It's a journey that you have to go on. And sometimes that journey is messy. And sometimes that journey is 2 steps forward and 1 step back. But if you are going through a rough time, please remember you're not alone. You can get through this. How do I know that? Because I've been through it, and I'm coming through it, and I've got better, and you can too.